What is up, guys? It's Monday here, and that means today we have another mixdown mastery tutorial. So I get a lot of people asking, sending emails and things like that, asking how do I know which frequencies to cut. I understand EQing, but I'm not sure how to go about it and that kind of thing. And to be completely honest, I personally think that it takes a while for your ear to develop to a point where you know which frequencies to cut, just by listening to the sound. But there is a way to get around this, especially if you're a new producer, and this tip might also help more experienced producers as well. It's a bit of a quick way to do things, but basically very easy to do in Ableton. You can do it in other DAWs as well. You just need to use a spectrum analyzer. So if we, for example, have two clashing frequencies, and I've got a kick and a bass here, these aren't too bad. But for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just gonna, show you that with this song, which I'm working on. So here I've got a bass line and two of the notes in this pattern hit at the same time as the kick. So if I play this, hang on. Now at first listen that doesn't sound too bad, and it's not really that bad at all, but in some cases you might have a lot of clashing going on and you might not know where to start. So what I recommend is basically using an EQ8. So for example, we'll drag this EQ onto our kick, and this is basically what we'll do. So if I solo the kick, I don't need to solo the kick actually, open up the kick here and play the pattern, and I'm going to see a few peaks in the kick. So a kick might have a fundamental around here, it might have a bit of punch here, and it might have some stuff around here. And on those peaks, I'm actually going to pull down. I'm going to cut those peaks on the kick, and you'll see why in a second. I should probably play from the loop. So the first one I'm pulling down is around 100 Hz, which contains the punch. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably thinking, why are you taking away the punch? That's so stupid. But you'll get what I mean. So I just took away another peak there. There's also one around here that I'll target. And there's a bit of body around here, which I'm just going to pull down a little bit. It's not going to be too much. Okay, cool. So now you're probably thinking, why did I just reduce all the peaks on the kick? It sounds dead now if we listen to it. If I solo this kick, yeah. The fact is, we don't actually use that EQ on the kick. So now that we've taken down the peaks on this kick, what I'm going to do is copy this EQ, actually I'll cut it, and then place it on the bass. Now, you're probably getting this now. What I've just done is taken the peaks from the kick and, taking them down, cut cut them and then put it on the bass. So now when the bass plays, any sort of frequency content that lies around here will be cut. So when the kick plays at the same time as the bass, you haven't got as much clash. So you might not hear much of a difference because, like I said before, these two tracks are quite fine already, but we might hear something. So it sounds a bit more tight, and normally I would probably use a few deeper cuts and also less, more width. Now you can also do the same thing on this track. For example, we could do it on the bass, obviously after this has been cut. So we go into the bass, make sure it's playing, take down some of these peaks. Now it gets a bit tricky down the low end. Of course, normally I would side chain something like this, but we can pull this down a little bit. Quite a big peak there, and it's a lot easier with bass sounds and stuff because you've got those harmonics that come up. There's a bit of stuff down here that I'm going to pull. So I wouldn't recommend doing this all the time, but if you need a quick fix and you're not too sure about EQing, you know, it might help a lot. So it's always something to think about. So I'm going to cut this one, place it on the kick, just like that. So now we've got hopefully a more cleaner mix. So yeah, there's not a huge difference there, but if you do this over your whole, your whole track, with each element, it'll clean it up a lot, and it's a good way to do it visually. Of course, the final judge should be your ear, and you should try to develop this. So I would say don't rely on this technique, but it does help a bit, and it will clean up your mix a bit. So yeah, Sam from EDMProd, and thanks for watching.